Every Mr. Bean episode drained me emotionally. I looked forward to filming ending. Those aren't the words of a tired actor. They're the confession of Rowan Atkinson, the man who created one of the most beloved characters in television history. At 70, he's finally admitting something millions suspected, but nobody wanted to believe. The man who made the world laugh didn't enjoy a single moment of it. 18 million people watched Mr. Bean at its peak. The show conquered 245 countries. Kids in Tokyo, adults in Sao Paulo, families in Mumbai, all laughing at the same silent comedy. And the man performing it called it exhausting, said the responsibility felt heavy, and admitted he felt like a fraud. But what we suspected wasn't just about him disliking the role. It was something far more disturbing. The character that made Rowan Atkinson famous wasn't comedy. It was trauma. And at 70, he's finally ready to explain why. This isn't about a comedy genius who got tired of success. This is about what happens when the world falls in love with the most painful version of yourself. To understand why, we need to go back to a school hallway in Durham, where a young boy learned that being different meant being called an alien. The alien child. At 5 years old, Rowan Atkinson developed a stutter so severe that forming sentences became a daily nightmare. It wasn't the occasional stumble most kids experience. His stutter trapped him mid-sentence, turned simple answers into painful silences, and made every classroom interaction feel like navigating a minefield. Imagine being unable to say your own name without triggering laughter from your classmates. Durham Cheatham School became a prison. The other children heard his stutter, saw his unusual elastic features, those same features that would later make millions laugh, and decided he wasn't one of them. They called him an alien, not as a joke, as a verdict. The boy with the rubbery face who couldn't speak properly wasn't human to them. But something strange happened when Rowan stepped on stage. His grandmother had given him a guitar at 6, and music became his first escape. By 7, he'd written his first song. At 10, he joined the Bohemian Polka Band and discovered something life-changing. On stage, his stutter vanished completely. The broken, stammering boy who couldn't answer a teacher's question performed entire routines without hesitation. His teacher, Chris Robson, later said Rowan didn't stand out in class at all. Quiet, unremarkable, forgettable. But the moment he performed, he became a different person entirely. And that's where the trap began. Rowan didn't overcome his stutter. He learned to hide from it. When he became someone else, the broken parts disappeared. Think about what that teaches a child. Your real self is defective. Your actual voice doesn't work. But transform into a character, and suddenly you're acceptable. Suddenly, people want you there. The stage wasn't where Rowan found himself. It was where he learned to lose himself. And for a traumatized kid desperate for acceptance, that felt like salvation. He excelled academically, too. Top science grades. Newcastle University at 18 studying electrical engineering. People expected him to become a scientist. But performance had already claimed him. By Oxford in 1975, he was living a double life. Engineering student by day, studying self-tuning control systems. Performer by night, discovering that transformation on stage was the only time he felt truly alive. That's when he met Richard Curtis in early 1976. Curtis saw Rowan perform and later described it perfectly. A quiet, funny-looking guy in the corner. Then Rowan performed a driving sketch, miming and speaking simultaneously, and Curtis called it pure genius. August 1976 brought the Edinburgh Festival Fringe, his first national audience. The show was mostly silent, inspired by Buster Keaton. Some walked out, confused by the wordless performance. Others saw something special, the rubber face, the ability to convey emotions without speaking. Rowan was developing a style that would conquer the world. But here's what nobody understood. Every successful performance reinforced a dangerous lesson. The real Rowan wasn't enough. The stammering boy who couldn't speak wasn't worthy of love. But the silent performer? That version was celebrated. The world was teaching him that his greatest value came from not being himself. Between 1978 and 1979, the BBC rejected him repeatedly. He felt lost, depressed. His stutter worsened during auditions, creating a vicious cycle. At one point, he seriously considered returning to engineering. At least equations don't judge you. Then came the realization that sealed his fate. When he fully committed to a character, his stutter didn't just improve. It vanished completely. This wasn't healing. This was substitution. And it would become both his greatest weapon and his most dangerous prison. The escape that became a trap. By 1980, Rowan had cracked the code. Become someone else, and the broken parts disappear. When the BBC gave him Not the 9 O'Clock News in 1979, it worked on national television. The first episode nearly killed the show. Less than 1 million viewers. Critics called it offensive and unwatchable. Mel Smith, his future co-star, said it was the worst half-hour of television he'd ever seen. But the BBC controller saw potential and ordered another series. That decision launched Rowan's career and proved something crucial. When he fully committed to a character, audiences responded. The 1982 series delivered Gerald the Gorilla, the sketch that changed everything. Rowan played a gorilla smarter and angrier than the professor studying him. When told he'd been caught in the wild in 1968, Rowan's gorilla screamed, "Wild!" I was absolutely livid. That line, delivered with perfect timing and physical transformation, showcased what made him special. He wasn't just funny, he was transformative. The sketch became legendary. Scientists jokingly started calling groups of baboons a flange from the bit. The episode won a BAFTA and the Silver Rose at Montreux. Rowan Atkinson was now officially a star. But he was a star because of his characters, not himself. That distinction was about to become crucial. In 1982, something revealing happened. Not the 9 O'Clock News ended, not from bad ratings, but exhaustion. The pressure, the anxiety, it broke them. Instead of riding the success, they walked away. Rowan jumped immediately into Blackadder. No rest, just a different character to hide behind. Blackadder launched in 1983, co-created with Richard Curtis. Nearly cancelled after the first series, it ran until 1989. As the sardonic, witty Edmund Blackadder, Rowan proved he could do sophisticated verbal humor, not just physical comedy. The World War I finale won BAFTAs and became one of Britain's best shows ever made. He later called it his least stressful project, because Hugh Laurie, Stephen Fry, and Tony Robinson shared the weight. Blackadder proved his range and won critical acclaim. But here's the problem. When people thought of Rowan Atkinson, they weren't thinking of Edmund Blackadder. They were waiting for what came next. The silent, childlike figure he'd been developing since Oxford. The character that would trap him forever. The Golden Cage. January 1st, 1990. 13.5 million people in Britain watched the first episode of Mr. Bean. A childlike man with almost no dialogue navigating the world through physical comedy. One episode hit 18 million viewers. The show sold to 245 countries, becoming one of British television's most successful comedy exports ever. And Rowan Atkinson hated it. Not immediately, perhaps, but as demands grew, as expectations mounted, as the character consumed his life, something dark settled in. He later admitted in interviews that shocked fans worldwide that he didn't enjoy playing Mr. Bean. Filming was stressful and exhausting. The responsibility felt crushing. He looked forward to it ending. Why? Mr. Bean barely speaks. How hard could a silent character be? But that's exactly why it was so difficult. Every emotion, every joke, every moment had to come from Rowan's face and body. No clever lines to hide behind. No witty dialogue to carry scenes, just pure physical transformation. And at 35, when the show started, that was already taking a toll. But here's the deeper problem. Mr. Bean wasn't just a character, he was a mirror. The childlike mannerisms, the social awkwardness, the inability to communicate verbally. Sound familiar? Mr. Bean was the boy Rowan used to be, the stuttering kid who couldn't speak in class, the alien child who didn't fit in, the person Rowan had spent his entire adult life trying to escape. Every time he played Mr. Bean, he was crawling back into the skin of his traumatized younger self. The audience laughed. They found it charming, but for Rowan, it was excavating old wounds for entertainment. Can you imagine spending your career performing the version of yourself you've been running from since childhood? The success only made it worse. The 1997 Bean movie made $251 million worldwide. Australia opened at number 1. The UK broke opening weekend records. Germany went crazy for it. The world was demanding more Mr. Bean. And Rowan was drowning. He found temporary relief in 2002 with the animated series. 52 episodes through 2004 let Rowan provide just the voice. No physical performance. No exhausting body comedy. The animated version kept Mr. Bean alive without destroying Rowan's body. It was relief, but not freedom. Then came the 2012 London Olympics. Rowan brought Mr. Bean back for one performance during the opening ceremony. 26.9 million people in the UK watched. Globally, 900 million saw it. One of the most tweeted moments of the night. A triumphant return, and it nearly destroyed him. That single performance left him drained for weeks. The physical toll, the pressure, the expectation. At 57, his body couldn't handle it anymore. Many see that Olympic performance as his last major appearance as Mr. Bean in full physical form. A goodbye disguised as a celebration. But the character wouldn't die. The Mr. Bean YouTube channel has 12 billion views, 35 million subscribers. It generates between $77,000 and $232,000 every month. The character earns money while Rowan sleeps. It exists independently now, fed by reruns and clips and animated episodes. Rowan could quit tomorrow, and Mr. Bean would keep making millions. That's the golden cage. You create something so successful, it becomes bigger than you. It doesn't need you anymore, but you're forever associated with it. Rowan tried breaking free. Johnny English in 2003 made $160 million. Sequels followed in 2011 and 2018. Critics called them Mr. Bean in a suit. He played a priest in 4 weddings and a funeral. Memorable but small. He voiced Zazu in The Lion King, which made nearly $1 billion, but later said he never liked voice work. Every attempt to prove he was more than Mr. Bean got filtered through the Mr. Bean lens. The industry typecast him. Audiences typecast him. In 2005, he tried Keeping Mum, playing a pastor in a dark comedy. It flopped. The message was clear. We want you to be Mr. Bean. Nothing else matters. The body breaks down. In 2022, at 67 years old, Rowan Atkinson returned to physical comedy with Man vs. Bee on Netflix. 9 episodes, each between 10 and 20 minutes, following a character trying to eliminate a single bee from a house. It looked like classic Rowan Atkinson physical comedy. Fans celebrated his return to form, but behind the scenes, Rowan was struggling. He admitted in interviews that even simple scenes, like riding a bike in Mr. Bean's holiday years earlier, left him completely exhausted. He said he wasn't athletic and never had been. His body, at 67, simply couldn't handle the demands of physical comedy anymore. The pratfalls, the exaggerated movements, the full-body commitment that made his performances iconic. They were destroying him. In 2012, at age 57, he'd said something revealing. He told The Telegraph that watching someone in their 50s act childlike could feel a little sad. He was talking about himself, about the discomfort of being nearly 60 years old and still playing the man-child character he'd created in his 20s. But then, in 2016, he changed his mind and said he'd never retire the character. Then, in 2018, he changed again, saying Mr. Bean was unlikely to return, but adding, "You must never say never. The pattern reveals the trap." He wants to stop. His body demands he stop. His mental health requires he stop. But the pressure from fans, from the industry, from the financial incentives, it keeps pulling him back. Retirement becomes a negotiation rather than a decision. And every time he hints at stopping, the outcry from millions of fans makes him reconsider what we actually suspected. In September 2024, an animated episode called Double Trouble showed Mr. Bean meeting clones inside a spaceship. Outlets declared it official. Mr. Bean is an alien. The fan theory, based on Bean literally falling from the sky in the opening while a Latin chant plays, was confirmed. The chant translates to, "Behold the man who is a bean." His name is just Mr., with no first name, like aliens might not grasp human naming conventions. But that alien confirmation? It's a distraction. A fun piece of trivia that misses the real truth entirely. What we actually suspected about Mr. Bean, what millions felt but couldn't articulate, wasn't about literal aliens. It was something far more human and heartbreaking. What we suspected was that Rowan Atkinson never healed from his childhood trauma. The stuttering boy called an alien, who couldn't speak in class, who learned his real self wasn't acceptable. That boy never went away. He just got buried under layers of performance. Mr. Bean is that boy. The childlike behavior, the nonverbal communication, the social awkwardness, the inability to function in normal situations. It's not alien behavior. It's a traumatized child who never learned how to be himself in the world. Rowan didn't create Mr. Bean from imagination. He channeled his younger self, the version the world had rejected, and turned that pain into comedy. The cruel irony is staggering. Performance was Rowan's escape from being the bullied child. On stage, he could be someone else and feel whole. But his most famous character forced him back into that childhood role. Mr. Bean was essentially Rowan performing his own trauma for the world's entertainment. Every episode wasn't just physically exhausting, it was psychologically re-traumatizing. Your life's greatest success requires you to constantly revisit your deepest wounds. The mask that saved you becomes the prison that traps you forever. When Rowan said he felt like a fraud, this is what he meant. He wasn't performing comedy. He was performing therapy. And the world paid him millions to never get better. Every standing ovation was applause for his trauma. Every laugh was at the expense of the broken child he'd been trying to escape his entire life. The price of success. So where does that leave us? Rowan Atkinson at 70, finally confirming what we all suspected. Not that Mr. Bean is literally an alien, but that the character was built from the broken pieces of a traumatized childhood. That success doesn't heal old wounds. Sometimes it just monetizes them. The numbers tell one story: 12 billion YouTube views, 35 million subscribers, global recognition across 245 countries. By every measure, Mr. Bean is one of the most successful comedy characters ever created. But success isn't the same as happiness, and fame isn't the same as healing. Rowan spent his childhood learning his real self wasn't acceptable. He spent his adult life proving that theory correct. Every time he tried to be something other than Mr. Bean, the world pushed back. The serious roles failed. The sophisticated comedy got ignored. The message was clear. We want you broken and childlike. We want the trauma, not the person who overcame it. At 70, Rowan is making peace with an impossible situation. He can't end Mr. Bean. The character exists independently now, earning money without his involvement. But he can stop performing it. He can step away from the physical and psychological toll of embodying his childhood pain for entertainment. Think about the courage that takes. Millions love Mr. Bean. Entire generations formed memories around that character. And Rowan has to look at all that love and say, "This is destroying me. I need to let it go." That's not quitting. That's choosing yourself after a lifetime of choosing the character everyone else wanted. It's recognizing that sometimes the greatest performance is knowing when to take your final bow. At 70, he's finally ready to stop. Not because he doesn't care about fans or legacy, but because after 7 decades of learning his real self wasn't acceptable, he's finally brave enough to choose authenticity over applause. To let Mr. Bean exist without him. That's the confirmation. The man who created Mr. Bean was trapped by his own success. And sometimes the only way to heal is to let go of the thing that made you famous. What matters more? Being loved for a character you created, or being at peace with who you are? For Rowan Atkinson, after a lifetime of choosing the character, he's finally choosing himself.